Fast edge pairing is a massive advantage of the Yao method, and in this video I'm going to give you some more advice to help you pair up your last 8 edges around your cube. So the main advantage of the Yao method is obviously the speed at which you can solve your edge pieces, because you're only looking around the middle and the top layer because you've already got your cross solved before you start doing the edge pieces. Here are just a couple of extra tips that I can give you to make your edge pairing a little bit faster. So previously I've just taught you to rotate by using a U and then start out by solving the edge that matches up with this one and so on. Alternatively, it's perfectly fine to do a U prime if you have a case like this, or even if you don't have a case like this. It's perfectly fine to do your first move as a U prime. Here we have this orange and yellow one and this orange and yellow one down here. So it makes sense to actually do a U prime to start out our 3 edge pairing. So when we do a U prime, we look for the corresponding edge for this one, which is this one up here, the yellow and blue, and we can insert that actually into the back. So that's another tip, is get good at actually inserting edge pairs into the back, because if we insert this into the front, then we'll actually need to do a double rotation, probably, to do our next one. So it makes more sense to, after doing that, insert this one into the back slot, like that, and then go on. So, we've got this red and green one, and luckily enough, this red and green one is here, so we don't need to worry about that. The red and green one is here, and then the next one we need to look for is the red and yellow. In this case, the red and yellow is up here, which leads me to another tip, which is get good at using your left hand to insert edge pairs. So here, it's far better to just do L prime U L, and then slice back, as opposed to, rotating and then doing F prime R, and then slicing. So to recap those initial tips that I just showed you when we did those first 3 edges, the first thing is obviously to get good at inserting edges into the back. So getting comfortable with the orientation of edges so that you can easily insert them into the back as you're doing those first 3 edges. Also be good at, or become good at using your left hand to insert edges, and get familiar with that. For the last 5 edges, look ahead will be even easier because you're only using the front 2 slots and your top layer to actually solve the remaining edge pairs. This means that if you're pretty comfortable with your edge pairing, you really can just try and turn as fast as possible during these last 5 edges especially. So here we have a last 4 edges case for which the intuitive solution is actually not very fast. So we have these 2 and these 2, which are actually just a 2 swap, and we also have these 2 and these 2, which are again just a slice, flip and replace. So what you would normally do, or what it would make sense to do intuitively, is to set these 2 up, flip them, so do a slice, flip, and then slice back, and then set these 2 up and do the same thing. But we can do something slightly differently. So instead of solving 2 and then 2, we can solve one of them and then solve the remaining 3. So what we can do here is, if we insert them so that they're diagonally opposite one another, or like that, we do a U prime, just solve one, insert one of the other 2 edge pairs, one of the other 2 unsolved edge pairs, slice back, and then obviously because these 2 were diagonal and these 2 were diagonal, we can overextend, so do another U to solve these 2, and then we just need to correctly position, we need to insert these 2 correctly into this slot with the correct orientation. So that's a lot faster than doing 2 flipping algorithms. It's just solving one of the edges and then solving the 3 remaining edges. So you do that in the case where you only last 4 edges and you have two swaps. There are a couple of tricky cases that you can run into during your edge pairing. So let's start off by doing a U to do your first 3 edges. And we've got the red and green one here. So we'll insert its red and green partner down here. And then if we're looking for this orange and blue one, we can't find it anywhere else, and it's actually back here. So what we should do in this case, instead of just giving up and then we've got these remaining ones to solve, what we should do is actually do another U, take this one out, slice back, and then keep going from this one. So here we've actually already got this one solved. Then we need to look again. We've got this blue and red one. The blue and red one is here, so you can flip it and then slice back. Another of these annoying cases can happen after we solve 2 edges. So in this case, we'll do a U, look for the blue and red. The blue and red's up here, so we can insert it there. We've got the yellow and red, which is here, insert it there. Now we're looking for the yellow and orange. So we've inserted that one and we've inserted that one, and we need to look for the yellow and orange to insert down here. And it's not in the top layer, it's actually sitting over here next to our original first edge that we were looking for. So what I do in this situation is I simply slice back to solve these 2 initial ones, and then obviously we're not doing 3, 2, 3, we're just doing 2, and then you'll either have 5 or 6 remaining. Or if you just solve 2 at the start and you had 8 edges to solve, you'll have 6 remaining. So what I would do in that case is just do the remaining 6 edges using 2 pairing. Another thing that I sometimes like to do is, for example, if I'm starting out doing my edges and I do a U prime, and I notice I've got this red and green one and it's, back here, it's not very good. What I did notice was actually this blue and orange one came over here and its blue and orange partner is up here. So instead of finding the matching edge for this one back here, I can simply just do a rotation and start out by finding the matching edge for this one, which is up here. Then keep going. So I've got, this yellow and green, which is actually here, so we can flip it. And then the red and green, which is actually here again, so we can flip it. During Yao, you'll also run into a bunch of lucky cases, so it's good to try and preserve edges where this happens. So for example here, after finishing our cross and centers, we've got this edge pair already solved. What we can do is we can be a little bit more fancy even. Instead of just taking this out with another random edge, what we can do is note that this yellow and blue one is here, and this yellow and blue one is here. So you can replace it like that. Then when we do our U prime, this one will be solved, so we need to look for the corresponding edge for this orange and green one. And because we've already solved this one, we get another edge pair solved just by doing a slightly different insert and being a little bit more mindful when we were taking out this previously solved edge. So then I've got this one. I can insert this one into the back. So this is the orange and green partner for this orange and green one. So I can go R, U prime, R2, U, R. Then I've got the yellow and red, which is here. And then I got the yellow and orange, which is just a flip away.